On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, I talk with Brandon Mackay from Snugs, and we talk about tariffs, creativity, and keeping the trains running on time. Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby, and I am delighted today to be joined by the CEO of Snugs, Brandon Mackay. Brandon's a repeat guest and just an overall rock star. So, Brandon, thanks so much for joining me, bud.
Oh, I'm stoked. Absolutely stoked just to talk to you, let alone be able to do this.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. So, we're going to dig into some super deep industry topics right away. Okay. So, as we have this conversation, we're getting close to 2020. There are conversations about tariffs, new tariffs, walking back tariffs, other tariffs. So I'm curious, do you think that that's going to slow down sales for branded merchandise going forward?
Well, tariffs tricky. So as we talk at this very given moment, it's kind of undecided for next year, right?
Right.
The hopes and dreams, I think, of anybody right now who has a business that's looking to generate revenue and looking to grow is that they can come to some conclusion on tariffs.
Yeah.
Will they rise a little bit? Yeah. Will they roll back a little bit? Yeah. But the trajectory that we're on right now, I don't think is sustainable to help businesses grow. And specifically in promotional products. I think this tariff issue is a potential cooling of promotional products growth.
Do you think it will cool the overall economy or just our industry?
Oh, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a brushstroke across all industries.
Yeah.
We're getting outside of the low-hanging tariff stuff. Now we're starting to get into things that are outside of our industry, into consumer goods and electronics and things that make us happy outside of selling lip balm and promotional products.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a topic that, gosh, it feels like we've been talking about it for a long time, but it's like we're almost just now really starting to feel the effects of it. So, no, I appreciate your perspective on that. So, one thing I've been wanting to ask you is I think we pride ourselves as an industry on being a creative business. And certainly you guys as Snugs are a creative industry or a creative company as well. But there are so many details and logistics that go into every single order. So how does a great supplier like yourself balance being creative but still keeping the trains running on time?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So within our organization, and I know all are different, but we have a humongous emphasis on what gets recorded gets improved. So you've been out here, many of your listeners have probably been out here, and we just put a lot of focus on process improvement and abilities to shorten the timeline. So the timeline is not getting greater.
Right.
The order cycle window is getting shorter. And if we can't make time, so we can't add 4 hours to a day and make it a 28-hour day, we're held with the laws of nature.
Right.
And the only ways that we can improve that is that we have to get better. And Snugs puts a tremendous amount of focus on not just creating better processes, but educating people with internally, giving them tools, sending them to classes, sending them to seminars, taking extra, time out of our days to really talk about theory. And across our C-level suite and our executive team, we put a lot of time and energy and money behind educating staff on process improvement, lean initiatives, Kaizen, 5S, Kanban. I mean, to go across the board of all lean strategy. And myself, I'm a real big believer in it. And the time it's created for our business and the dollars it's created for our business is pretty impressive.
Yeah, you mentioned I had the chance to come out and visit you guys, and I was so impressed where it was like you could almost just drop me in, and I'm not in the manufacturing industry, but you could drop me in, and I could. It made sense where everything moved and how clean it was, and how I was just really impressed with the process. And so you can tell you've spent a lot of time on that. So kudos. So a final question for you. Every industry, regardless, every industry has notable leaders. They're the folks that the Power 50, which of course you are on, and other people that are just the kind of the big stars of the industry. And then there's like the next generation. So who are some up and coming leaders you see in the promo world?
Oh man. I mean, I've thought about this question as we've kind of posed it out there.
Yeah.
The next round of leaders, I mean, I really, at this moment, I think we're kind of on this tipping point of creating these people. I really don't think that they've had their so-called breakout moment. I think with the last cycle of the economy cooling extended the life of some industry veterans. And I think that they are starting to look at greener pastures and find past retirement and things like that, which extended the window for probably people more in our era. Yeah. Where, we're Gen Xers and, we're starting to hit our stride now. And I believe that next round of influencers is TBD, but I think they're TBD kind of in our own organizations here. So I would say, hey, there's probably 2 or 3 people on our executive team, people that you don't know. I mean, like our CFO, Renell, or Roseanne, our Chief Information Officer, or Justin, our COO, or, Brittany, which a lot of people know. But I really think that there's some behind the scenes people that are working within organizations that are going to come out and break out. And I don't know if I could say, hey, you know what, XYZ from blank promos is the next guru of promo. But I am just wildly encouraged of the talent that is out there right now. And some of the talent that you run across with at SKUCon or SKU Camp, or some of these people, at face value, you're like, whoa, they're out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny say that.
That's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it's once you fall into your cycles, right, the folks that you get to know, you're like, okay, this industry can sometimes feel small because it feels like you know somebody. And I always say that going out to expo is like a little family reunion or class reunion or whatever. But on the other side, when I go out to expo, I'm always like, oh my God, it's like I don't know anybody. And so I think sometimes it's like those people who are working behind the scenes, you're right. They become the next leaders and they're already doing it. It's, and their companies know it. It's just a matter for the rest of us to kind of understand it and know it. So I think that's well said. So cool, man. You've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me a question. Do you have one for me?
Yeah. So 2 parts.
Okay.
One is I want to hear a little bit about your upcoming book.
Okay.
Give a little bit of backstory, maybe a 5-second inside the front cover tutorial about what it's going to be.
Yeah, so the book's going to be called Success in the Give First Economy. It's based on some presentations that I've given over the last couple of years, put it in book format. And it's going to be coming out the first of the year. We're going to have audio books, ebook, and standard book. I think when I was out there, I talked about how to get more done. Does that sound right? And so part 2 of the book is going over how to get more accomplished. So it's like part 1 is about how to succeed in the Give First economy. Part 2 is about how to have the time to be productive so that you can give first. So make sense?
All right. 2-part question.
Yep.
And you can edit this out for your listeners if you want.
No, it's fine.
Or your viewers, I guess. Who in the crud is going to win this election next year?
Oh, the hard questions, right?
And I already told you who I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be someone.
It's going to be someone.
Someone's going to win.
Yes, I think you're right in that way. I think as we sit here right now, I think it's incredibly difficult to predict. Obviously, Trump will be representing the Republican side. I don't think we know who's going to be representing the Democrats. I think once that comes out, then I could give you sort of prediction, whether it's what I want to happen or not.
Yep, exactly.
I'm fascinated by a couple of the candidates.
Yep.
And one of the things that I have said is I think we're at a tipping point, or we're getting close to a tipping point of we might start to look differently at how elections are decided. Right now, we're so confined into the idea of the current media model where it's like, okay, we got 12 people on a stage. Everybody gets 10 seconds to try and tell how they'd fix the world. And then we wonder why nobody seems like they're making sense or they're not that compelling. I was telling you before we got on here, I saw an interview with Joe Rogan and Bernie Sanders, and they talked for an hour and a half. Now, whether I like everything Bernie said, I at least understand it now.
Exactly. And
I'd like to see more long form stuff for us to really get a chance to dig in and have that become the mainstream as opposed to the soundbite culture that we live in right now.
I would concur with you. And we talked offline a little bit. It's like, who is in charge of presenting these people?
Yeah.
And why can they not be the people that they show up like on Joe Rogan? Like I had mentioned to you, I watched Hillary Clinton on Howard Stern.
Yeah.
I'm like, where was that person 4 years ago?
Right.
But I agree with you. How do we get away from the 15-second soundbite of I'm going to give away free education and free healthcare?
Yeah.
To tell me about who you are as a human.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And again, when you dig in, not only from a person perspective, but then to actually explain how any of these policies might work, that would be helpful. So yeah, let's just say my prediction is it's going to be interesting. It's going to be talk worthy. That's for sure.
Well, there you go. That's the bumper sticker. Interesting 2020.
I love it. Well, cool, man. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. We'll do it again, okay?
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.